we're back in the recap of the Archduke. So let me turn the page and see what's up. It's not that it's terribly difficult, it's just certainly for the first time, if you were hearing this, it would not all be predictable. The interesting thing about making decisions is when every decision you make, or a number of decisions you make, all seem relatively reasonable. So going to the fourth finger and being a little stronger at the top of these fragments, or going to the fifth finger and being a little more comfortable. Fourth, five, fourth. So I'm pretty standard, I guess. I'm going to fourth on the black note, going to fourth on the small intervals, and fifth for most of the others. Suckers you by having bunches of repetitions and then breaks out of the repetition. There's two of these. Two of these, two of these, two of these, two of these, one. So this can be so incredibly awkward. So you have to make sure that the choreography reduces or eliminates it. I could get fancy and go 4 to 5 instead of 5 to 4. I have to think about that. I haven't thought about it before, but a lot of solutions that I come up with are a direct result of noodling. In other words, you just let your body sort of lead your mind and see what happens. So that for my hand, if I'm going to do that, then it changes the grouping and changes my mental process. Because if I go to 4, it's not hard to go to 4, but then I want to make sure that that doesn't put my fifth in an awkward position, but rather enables me to take full advantage of the simplicity of the octave. So it's kind of nice. Can I do it twice in a row? Especially because the A changes to B flat. Does that change my... Would I be so bizarre as to do it fourth finger for the octave one, and then fifth finger for the smaller one? Don't know. So I'm discovering that I often will push the tempo beyond the tempo of the piece just to see if my body will automatically respond to that. And I am kind of getting used to that fourth finger. So at the very least, I'm going to put it in. I always use pencil because I'm always ready to make a change. 4, I do like it. I've related this story a number of times, but in another Beethoven trio, the G major trio, Opus 1, number 2, there's this particular passage that has a series of 4-2-1s of thirds and seconds. And I got stuck every time I would revisit that trio at the point at which the fingering will tend to change so you can do this. I would not exactly be unable to play it, but have to sort of clench my teeth and will myself to remind myself that it was very different, until one day I just was so fed up that I said, just play what you know, what you're really comfortable with, and as far as it goes that way. So I got this far, and I said, now play from the next place, you know, from where it would be challenging. And I discovered very quickly, it's not that that other passage was more challenging or that the fingering was inherently challenging, it was just different. And because the patterning was the same, except for the black note, the intrusion of the black note, my mind and my body sort of were at war with one another. So it's one of those places where I found the idea of a mental breath was really significant. I went as far as the last of the white note ones, the white note thumb ones, and then I just told myself to start the next fragment. So you get to A, breathe, and then go on. And I have used that ever since, and it illustrated for me. I had been revisiting that piece for about 15 years at the time, and in about 15 seconds I managed to make a significant difference in how I felt about it, how I trusted it. And after that point, I never don't, pardon the double negative, I always try to follow through on incidental discoveries I make, noodle discoveries, serendipitous things where I'm looking for one thing and something else suggests itself. Going to the fourth finger, for example. It's just more comfortable for my hand. For another hand, it might not be. But it gives me an assurance that, it's much less frenetic, which for me, I need to be a little bit when I'm going from 5 on black note to 4 on white note. That causes too much gesture because I can't fit in the fourth that other people can. So the result is the fourth on the white note is not easily available to me. As a result, today's change of fingering makes a big difference. So, yay me. Or, yay my subconscious or my body, maybe. Anyway. See, I have an altered fingering when I get to here. If I don't change my finger in my left hand to 1, 3, 5, I can't go on. I can't finish the passage. So that's a good thing. Sneaky. I got into the mode of playing a series of 2-note slurs, but it's not that. It's a slur at the beginning of every 4-note group. So, I'm sure I misread what I thought was the fingering. It said 230. It was the measure number, and I became mighty surprised that I would have thought of a fingering as exotic and weird and unusable as 3-2-1 on G, F, E flat. So now that I realize that it's a penciled in measure number, I'm going to make that clear by circling it in a different way. And of course, the easiest way of figuring out how fingering ought to work out at the end is to start from the end and work backwards. And it's very nice. It's a 2-note, 2-hand position group. 4 to 5, and all is well. 4 to 5, 5. Sorry. Interesting fingering, because of the fact that this black note, I could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 twice. I have written something like that. 2 and then turn. Do I like it? Not I might might just skip fingers and go 2, 1, 2, 3. So it's 1, 2, 3 for the two white, white, black fragments, and then a fifth to get me the octave. So I very much like that. So 3 and 3, and then fifth finger, and I'll cross out or eliminate the fourth that I had before. Similar to what we had before in different keys. But this key so now I'm discovering what I actually was feeling, that going to that black note thumb was different from my body and I didn't know how to respond to it, so I have to decide, do I like it? Or do I want to change it? Because here I'm not doing that on this chord. Inversion you expect. In matching the bow strokes of the strings to make sure that this is non-legato. It's not written with slurs. So it's much more clarion-like. It's very simple, tonic, E-flatty sense. So I have to make sure that my gestures easily accommodate for that. Again, sometimes I'm looking at fingerings and I'm saying, what was I thinking? I have thumb written on this B flat, but I don't really want to get there because I'm using a reverse fingering trill in my left hand. So I'm just going to eliminate that one. Eliminate it from my consciousness. Then it says 5, probably because I went 1 to 5. But I don't need that either. So I'm going to eliminate that also. Now, I understand my thought process, there's octaves, but if I'm not starting on the first one, I might go 5 on the second. It'll help me to keep track. So I see for my F7th arpeggio, I've indicated to start with with 2, so I would have the standard fingering with 4th finger on E flat on the black note. In other words, the long finger. Seems reasonable, it works. And again, coming out of that, there's absolutely no necessity to look for linkage. It's impossible to get to the full B flat chord. So. This is just me being bizarre. I could certainly go 1, 2, 3. I happen to choose to go to 5, 4, 2. I love my when I have one black note to rather grab it with a long finger. Sometimes I'll do that because it optimizes for me the sense of ease and the sense of grabbing the chord and being able to sink into it comfortably. I could do 3. It certainly involves less motion. Don't emulate me, just notice that each of us is unique in many ways. So, again, I need in my left hand, because of the arrangement of black and white notes, my particular thickness of finger, I have to move a fair amount to be really comfortable in the way I negotiate those different inversions. So, especially if I want them to sound good. I mean, if I just want them to sound okay, then I don't have to, but I really do want them to sound good, and I don't want them to overwhelm. It's in such a tubby register of most Steinways, for example, that unless I move along the key a lot, it's going to get rather heavy in here, where it's 3 on a black note and 2 on a white note. I can really get jammed into the surface unless I'm moving. On this key, you can hear that unevenness anyway. So. That C minor 3 times. So that always makes me very suspicious. One of my rules of thumb is repeating a mistake 3 times is a mistake. So I've made a mistake here, and at this point I have to say, look, just telling yourself to do it again is obviously not in your own best interest, because doing that didn't work. So what gives? So coming from all these white notes, you're quite far. You're not committed to any black notes, so you're quite far out on the keys for an all white note, 4-note arpeggio. So first thing I might consider is committing a little bit more to the thumb G, or maybe another thing is I shouldn't be looking at my 5th finger note. I've mentioned that before. I actually want to be looking at this much closer note, the C, the thumb note. Feel the octave here. See, I'm staring at this thumb note, and I'm having a completely accurate and comfortable time of playing the C. Now, another issue is that C minor causes me to commit to extending my hand out over that black note E flat, which I play with the 4th finger. And if I get too ready for the chord, strangely enough, I run the risk of missing the C. Whereas if I only concern myself getting the C itself, that gesture is very simple and very comfortable for my hand. If I look to optimize that experience itself, my 4th finger is not on E flat. And so that's perhaps the key to the mystery, that I will, in my head, isolate the C from the E flat and from the rest of the chord, and then go on. So, let's see I have to work for balance here. It's so easy to be overwhelming in the left hand. And again, I need a lot of choreographic help here, because if I just played these notes under my hand, they get too complicated. I'm moving through the same 3 notes a number of times. I have 3 notes here, 2, 3, 4, 5, but 6 iterations of one or the other of them in various combinations. So I have the descending 3 notes and the descending 2 notes and then up 1. So I could think that if I felt the need to do that, but really I need a goal. I need a choreography that simplifies it all. For me, it's coming off the black note, getting to the white note C, and then moving back in seems to work. I could imagine, as an experiment, I might want to go to thumb on the A, because that doesn't make the natural discomfort of the second, which partners with 2 and 3 and with 3 and 4. They would prefer always, if I had a choice, to play on the same kind of note, either all black notes or all white notes. But because you have the second finger on a white note and the third finger on a black note, there's an asymmetry which could only be made more comfortable by turning my arm so much that it aligns the fingers on those keys. That would be good, but that would be an extraordinarily awkward place to get to, having just played this C. So I'm considering it so much that I'm actually using my pencil to put in a thumb on the A. Now then the question arises, maybe I should have put the thumb on the A to begin with. Even though I had my thumb here, do I have time to do that? And I think the answer to that is no. So I have a compromise solution. 3 to 2, and then 1 on the second A. And it makes me happy. I don't need it the second time around when I have all white notes. But I like it anyway, so I'm going to do it again. Again, nothing has to be permanent, it's all in pencil. So there's a pencil in your head, in essence. Same thing. Decision to be made. These little ones are okay. This octave one, of course, if I use an octave to 5th finger, I'd be asking for trouble. I could do it, then I have to negotiate moving my hand. Well, let's think bizarre thoughts. So this time, just for fun, I went 1-5, 2, 4, 3, 2, 1, and tossed my hand inward rather than outward. You know what? Without even thinking about why it's comfortable, I so like it that I'm going to stick it in, and maybe I'll keep it. I have to remind myself to come out to a considerable extent from F sharp to A. 2 and 4 are the closest to having the same length, so I need a significant choreographic movement to make the 4th feel comfortable on the A, which is fine with me because then I can roll my way back into the next 3 notes, or keys. Okay, I like the idea of those 1-5s followed by 2 4s. Don't need the thumb, although I could do it again. Here I like it again because of the presence of the black note again. So I've made a number of fingering adjustments from the last time I played this piece, which is kind of a delight to me. Because in each case, they make me feel as if what I found was a solution that's just that much more tightly focused and more dependable. So it requires less, ultimately it requires less concentration and just dialing up of that simplicity of sensation. Now I go to 4th finger on C here and go between these 3 notes, 4, 2, 1. It just enables me to isolate the black-white B flat A from this top note. It wouldn't be terrible to play 3, 2, 1, but it's just easier to have that skip finger that requires me to make a bigger gesture that sort of makes it more obvious that the C is isolated from the rest of the passage. to C, and then C sharp to E flat. I'm going 1, 4, 2, 3, and then 1 on the D. And then putting my thumb on the last F. This one gets me up to the top C. That's all she wrote for now.